There are murders that shock a town, and then there are the ones that haunt it. Mandy Stavik's story began with a run. A simple jog down a country road, the kind she'd taken countless times. But this time, someone was waiting. We've already revealed the man convicted, Timothy Bass. But the further we dig, the clearer it becomes. This wasn't just about one man. This was about silence, fear, and a possible web of predators operating in plain sight. This is the final episode of the murder of Mandy Stavik. If you haven't seen the previous episodes, stop now. Because this chapter begins where most stories end, with a deathbed confession and the name Mandy Stavik spoken one last time. Episode 1 recap. The red truck and the pattern. Timothy Bass was convicted in 2019 for Mandy's rape and murder, nearly 30 years after her body was found in the Nooksack River. But evidence began to surface, suggesting he wasn't alone. A red pickup truck, a second man seen on the road that day, and a disturbing link to a seasonal worker named Clay Myrick, who vanished after Mandy's funeral. By part 3, we traced a pattern of unsolved drownings. Blonde, athletic girls found in rivers across the Pacific Northwest, years apart, counties apart, but always near logging routes. And then came another clue. A redacted name in the original 1989 case files. Timothy Bass's cousin. The name beneath the black bar. Officially, the redaction was for irrelevance. Unofficially, it was protection. Investigative journalist Dana Holt, known for exposing deep corruption cases, filed a legal request in 2022 under the Freedom of Information Act. It took months, appeals, threats of lawsuits, but she won. The name beneath the black marker? Harland Reese, Bass's maternal cousin, lived 2 towns over, worked in logging, same routes, same years, and, like Tim and Clay, drove a red pickup truck. But Harland's story didn't end quietly. It ended in Spokane, inside a hospice center for the terminally ill. The last breath. In March 2023, a nurse at Clearwater Palliative Center in Spokane placed a call to local police. She said a dying patient had mumbled something terrifying. Her report read, "Patient Harland R. appears increasingly paranoid. Said, I didn't hold her down, Tim did. I just kept watch." Followed by, "The river made it easier. We knew it would." Those words triggered an immediate chain reaction. Detectives arrived, but Harland was slipping. They recorded his statements, fragmented and foggy. They said she liked to run, that she looked at us. Tim always said the water would clean it. It was never supposed to go that far. Then he flatlined. No follow-up. No confession signed. Just a few haunted whispers and a room that went silent forever. But to law enforcement, it was enough. Harland Reese was now a person of interest in Mandy's case, posthumously. But this death brought more questions than closure, because Harland had been protected by someone. And when Dana Holt followed the paper trail, she found something buried beneath layers of bureaucracy. A check, the mysterious payoff. In 1990, just months after Mandy's murder, Harland received a sudden $6,200 payout. Not from a job, from a private account tied to a company called Oran Creek Logistics, a defunct shell company, registered to an address that no longer existed. Or did it? Using archived land records, Holt traced the plot to a parcel just outside Acme. Forested. Remote. She went there herself. What she found: concrete footings, burnt lumber, old chains, and a rusted sign nailed to a pine tree, almost unreadable beneath years of moss. But the words, once cleaned, were clear. Private property, no trespassing, BR. BR. Initials that never appeared in any police file. But in a forgotten photo from Mandy's funeral, one man in the background wore a trucker cap with those same initials. He was never named, never questioned. Until now. Mandy's voice recovered. In April 2023, a former friend of Mandy's came forward. She said she'd kept a cassette tape, a recording of her and Mandy chatting about boys, school, life. They were recording over a music mixtape, just teenage fun. But at the 18-minute mark, Mandy's tone shifted. There's this creepy guy who keeps waiting by the creek road. I told Mom, but she thinks I'm exaggerating. And then, he has a patch on his jacket. I think it said something like Orin Creek. That name again. The shell company, the property, the payoff, and possibly a network. Suddenly, Mandy's murder looked less like a one-time act and more like a planned event. One that had roles: watchers, cleaners, silencers. And the deeper Holt dug, the more she realized. This wasn't just a murder. It may have been an initiation. Who is BR? Why was Mandy possibly targeted? And what exactly was Orin Creek Logistics, if not a company? When Mandy Stavik was found in the Nooksack River, cold and lifeless, the world saw a tragedy. But someone saw a successful operation. It took 30 years to convict Timothy Bass. But truth, real truth, moves like the river that took her. Quiet, slow, relentless. And now, that river is exposing something far more terrifying. A blueprint. Because this wasn't just one girl's story. It might have been a ritual, a network, and a cycle that didn't begin or end with Mandy. The Orin Creek Ledger. The Orin Creek Ledger was thin, barely 10 pages. Most of the entries were coded, abbreviations, initials, vague descriptors. But one entry, dated November 27, 1989, stood out. OC 117, delivery confirmed. Runner secured. C/R split paid. BR verified. Total, $8,500. Runner secured. C/R split. What was C/R? Clay and Reese? Or was it code/reward? The total matched what Harland had partially received. And BR, the same initials from the forest clearing, had verified. The implication? Mandy Stavik wasn't just murdered. She was targeted, handled, and processed like a transaction. But by whom? Who signed this off? That's when Dana found it, scrawled at the edge of a ledger like a stamp. Orin Creek is for the harvest. The harvest files. Using that phrase, the harvest, Dana searched old FBI behavioral memos, obscure cult activity, and black market trafficking references from the late 80s. Buried in the digital archives of Project Redline, a classified federal task force from 1988, was an alert. Multiple cases of female joggers disappearing near rivers in wooded areas across Oregon, Washington, Idaho. Possible rural trafficking, ritualized targeting, or collector behavior. Operation temporarily suspended due to lack of state-level cooperation. state-level cooperation? Or was it state-level interference? Because one name kept reappearing in rejected follow-ups. Benjamin Rourke, Br. The man with no face. Benjamin Rourke, a logging tycoon in the late 80s with private property along the Nooksack River. Never arrested, never even questioned, but known to fund obscure outdoorsman retreats under various shell companies, one of which was Oran Creek Logistics. He vanished in 1991 after allegedly moving abroad for health reasons. There are no death records, no travel logs. His assets were quietly liquidated. But here's where it gets colder than the river that claimed Mandy. A former janitor at the Whatcom County Courthouse came forward in 2023 after seeing Rourke's name mentioned on Crime Vault. He claimed that in 1990, he witnessed a box of files marked Rourke, suppressed, being removed by two men in plain clothes. No badges, no warrants. The janitor kept one page, a photocopy of a young girl's driver's license. But it wasn't Mandy's. It was a girl named Danielle Krause. She'd gone missing in 1986, 3 counties south, and was also found in a river. The boy who heard the river speak. Then came the boy. He's 42 now. But in 1989, he was 7. His name is Sean Daly. He lived near Strand Road and was often dismissed as the weird kid. He claimed he heard screaming in the woods on the day Mandy disappeared. But no one listened until 2023, when Dana tracked him down. He remembered more than just a scream. He remembered a voice. It said something like, "Now she's part of it. Now it's sealed." Then a splash. When Dana asked why he never repeated it, Sean said, "Because the man in the red truck told me I'd be next." And then, in a whisper, he wore a necklace, carved from bone. I never forgot it. Bone. Was Benjamin Rourke the architect of a ritual network masked as a logistics company? Was Mandy's death part of something called the Harvest? And why are state files on other drowned girls mysteriously missing? For 34 years, her name lingered like a ghost in the trees. Mandy Stavik, daughter, runner, victim. But Mandy was more than a name on a cold case file. She was the thread that unraveled a hidden empire. We've exposed a network, a ritual, a man with no face and too many followers. And tonight it ends. Or so we hope. The survivor. Her name is Elena Wren. Now 51, she had never spoken publicly. Not to press, not to police. But in the summer of 2024, after seeing Part 5 of Crime Vault series, she reached out to Dana Holt with one sentence. "I survived Oran Creek." Her story? In 1987, Elena was 14 and hitchhiking from Seattle to Bellingham after a family fight. She was picked up by a man in a red truck. Kind at first. Offered snacks, music. But when he turned onto a forest road, she knew something was wrong. She was taken to a remote cabin, held for 2 nights, drugged, filmed, and then released. They said I was too loud, that I'd ruined the ritual. When Dana showed her a photo of Benjamin Rourke, she froze. That's him, but older. He had the same eyes, dead behind them. But Elena remembered something else. A trapdoor in the cabin floor, with a symbol etched above it, like a circle with 3 slashes. Dana recognized it immediately. It matched a carving found on the rusted chains near the Oran Creek clearing. And on Mandy's autopsy photos, hidden just below the surface of the skin, was a faint bruise on her shoulder, in the shape of that same symbol, the last ledger. In October 2024, Washington state whistleblowers leaked sealed records recovered from a long-abandoned storage unit tied to the now-defunct Orin Creek Logistics. Inside, black binders marked Archive BR. Most of it was cryptic, but one binder, labeled Cycle 4, Winter 1989, listed initials and dates. MS, November 24th, confirmed. DK, November 17th, incomplete. EW, declined noise risk. Mandy Stavik's initials. Her death date, confirmed. DK, Danielle Krause. EW, Elena Wren. A list. A sequence. A harvest. It was real. Beneath the earth. Armed with this evidence, authorities returned to the Orin Creek site with a forensic excavation team. On day 3, they uncovered a concrete slab beneath what once appeared to be a fire pit. Beneath it, 2 rusted lockboxes and 1 human jawbone. DNA confirmed. The bone belonged to Danielle Krause, missing since 1986. Inside one lockbox, Polaroids, dozens. Teenage girls in varying states of undress or fear. Mandy, Danielle, one girl still unidentified. Inside the other box, letters, many addressed to BR, but one addressed to someone else. To the new watcher, may the river cleanse you as it did me. Signed TB, Timothy Bass. A final message, a ritual passed down, a cycle intended to continue. The tape Mandy's mother kept. In December 2024, just before the anniversary of Mandy's death, her mother Mary gave Dana Holt one last gift. A cassette tape, labeled only, Christmas '88 practice run. It was Mandy, running, recording herself as part of a school project. You could hear her footfalls, her breathing. Then, faintly, in the background, she's almost ready. Then silence. Then wind, water, and a whisper. We do this in the name of the river. We do this so it remembers us. Dana had it authenticated. It was real. Where is Benjamin Rourke? Interpol red notices. No matches. No tax records. No travel history. But in April 2025, an anonymous tip came from Argentina, a small, gated community in the mountains, known for wealthy exiles. A man in his 80s, goes by Mr. Redmond, walks with a cane, lives alone, has visitors every solstice. Young men, no photos exist, only a voice recording captured by a former gardener. The river gave us purpose. I gave them the girl, and she gave us silence. If it is Rourke, he's still alive, still free, and maybe still watching. Final note. The state of Washington officially reopened the Mandy Stavik case as part of a broader multi-jurisdictional task force investigating ritualized abductions between 1985 and 1992. Mandy's name is now etched not just in stone, but in the system that failed her, and the system trying, decades later, to make it right. But remember this. For every Mandy we know, there may be others we've never heard about. One more missing piece. 1 week after this series aired, Dana Holt received an unmarked envelope. Inside, a photo. It wasn't Mandy. It wasn't Danielle. It wasn't Elena. It was a girl, 16, blonde, wearing a school track jersey, and on the back, written in red ink, she was supposed to be next. No name, no date, just coordinates. Near a lake, not in Washington, but in Oregon. Is the harvest over? Or has it only changed hands? Thank you for following the murder of Mandy Stavik on Crime Vault. Like, subscribe, and share this story. Because sometimes justice comes late. Sometimes it never comes at all. But silence? Silence is a killer too.